All right, Kyle Shanahan's conference call is finished, and we have a big injury update for you today. The headlining news is that 49ers rookie tight end Cameron Latu, one of their third-round picks in the 2023 draft, who's been the subject of a lot of scrutiny due to many dropped passes and a fumble this preseason, he's going to have to undergo surgery on his meniscus. That's knee surgery. So we might have our first big 53-man roster clue of this 2023 cycle. Obviously, the 49ers have to cut down the 53-man roster. They have to cut down the 90-man roster to 53 men on Tuesday. And since Cameron Latu is going to need knee surgery, well, we can look to see our projection. He was on the inside of the picture with knee surgery. 49ers are probably going to place him on injured reserve. That's what we call a redshirt year for Cameron Latu, because if a player is placed on IR before the roster cut down, if they don't make the initial 53, that means they're not eligible to return for that team this season. So Cameron Latu would obviously be allowed to stay in the building, but he can't practice or he can't play. That only happens if he's placed on injured reserve. Now, if the 49ers really feel that they're going to need Cameron Latu back this year and they want him on the team, well, then they'd have to do this. They'd have to include him on the 53-man roster at the cut down on Tuesday, and then they could put him on injured reserve, and that would allow Cameron Latu to return after at least 4 weeks on IR. But with the timing of this injury, given the circumstances, given the fact that Cameron Latu is a very raw player, the 49ers, I think, when they drafted him, said, we know this is a raw player. We know that the learning curve is going to be pretty steep. Remember, Latu dropped a lot of passes early on at Alabama after he converted from a defensive end position to tight end, and then he figured it out. Well, if the 49ers are expecting the same kind of developmental trajectory from Cameron Latu, and if they feel that a lot of his drops were caused by the fact that he was just swimming in the playbook, he just wasn't, fully versed on the playbook yet, well, then putting him on injured reserve now that he needs this knee surgery might be the smart course of action, because he could stay studying the playbook and he can come to training camp next year much more well-versed in the 49ers offense and ready to go. So it might be an injury redshirt year for Cameron Latu. We will see. I'm going to go through some of the injuries that Kyle Shanahan just reported and illustrate to you how they impact the 53-man roster. As you can see, Cameron Latu, he's going to be hurt, so we're going to move him over here. We're going to shift this one over to outside of the 53-man projection. I do think they're going to put him on injured reserve, so I don't think he's going to make the 53-man roster. We can highlight him in pink. We can erase Latu from this side. What does that mean as far as the tight ends the 49ers take? Well, maybe they carry Braden Willis, the rookie, on their 53-man roster instead of Latu, or they can carry a player at a different position who they might be afraid will get poached off of the 49ers team, off of the waiver wire. So somebody like Kalia Davis. Kalia Davis would be a good one to potentially move into the 53-man roster mix. We'll grab Davis. And by the way, Kalia played yesterday. I thought he was decently productive for the 49ers at defensive tackle. He's no longer hurt, so we can erase his name from there. And now the 53-man roster is full again. Okay, on to the next injury news. Taylor Hawkins. This was a safety, second-year player, practice squatter last year for the 49ers. He had impressed Steve Wilks so far in training camp in the preseason, although there was a bad play yesterday for Taylor Hawkins on the long touchdown run against the 49ers. He took a bad angle there at the start. So, I mean, nobody's perfect, and especially some of these younger guys I thought weren't great with the run fits or with the angles yesterday down the stretch run of practice. I still do think that the 49ers have been impressed with Taylor Hawkins, and they do like him as a developmental piece. Played cornerback at San Diego State, moved to safety with the 49ers in the practice squad last year, but he has broken his hand. If they feel that this is another player who should get a redshirt year, well, then Taylor Hawkins can go on injured reserve, so the 49ers do not have to waive him here at the cut down. So Hawkins' name is down at the bottom right. I already have him shaded in pink, so I do expect Taylor Hawkins to go on IR. We'll see what the official move for the 49ers is. Moving on, next guy that's hurt, A.J. Parker. hamstring strain. Parker's a player who signed a futures deal with the 49ers during their playoff run last year because he had been cut by the Lions. 49ers signed him for this 2020-23 season. And Parker has actually been decent in coverage at the nickel cornerback position. He, too, though, is developmental depth for the 49ers. Now, at nickelback, by the way, it's a hamstring strain, as you can see, for A.J. Parker. At nickelback, the 49ers, I talked about this earlier. This might be one of the weak spots of their football team. Obviously, no more K'Wan Williams, no more Jimmy Ward. At nickel, they're having to move Diamador Lenore from outside cornerback inside to be more comfortable against slot receivers. Isaiah Oliver is fighting, but has some coverage limitations. He's a little bit bigger. I think the 49ers, they might not be interested in completely shutting A.J. Parker down for the season. And if they're not interested in doing that, then they're not going to put him on injured reserve right now. They can waive him, hope that he clears waivers, then they could re-sign him to the practice squad. But it is a hamstring strain for A.J. Parker. Then the 49ers have a couple kicker injuries, and I've already talked about these. It's hard to script and make this kind of stuff up. Zane Gonzalez is hurt. He's got the calf strain. Jake Moody, he also is hurt. He's got the quad strain. So 2 kickers, 2 names in this horizontal row. Both of them are hurt. The 49ers are going to wait and see over the next couple of days to get a better prognosis on whether or not Jake Moody or Zane Gonzalez will be ready for week 1. They don't have all that much time, though, to wait. By Tuesday, they've got to cut down the roster. Again, my guess right now, based on the word that we were hearing about the severity of these injuries, which is not too severe, but it does threaten week 1. I do think the 49ers will cut Zane Gonzalez. They'll keep Jake Moody. I don't think that you have to IR Jake Moody or anything after you keep him, because you can sign a kicker to the practice squad. And if you do sign that kicker to the practice squad, then you can move forward with activating that kicker early on in case Jake Moody is not available. So really weird, tough situation for the 49ers to be in, but they probably can't flip Zane Gonzalez now for a draft pick as they hope that they would. That injury scuttles the 49ers plans to make a little bit of a profit off of the kicker that they traded for, but it's just how football works, and the 49ers have to move forward under this new reality. Talanoa Hufunga missed the game yesterday. I think he missed a practice before that. And Kyle Shanahan reported that he has a Baker's cyst. What is a Baker's cyst? Well, a Baker's cyst is a fluid-filled cyst behind the knee, usually the result of knee joint conditions that causes the knee to produce too much lubricating fluid. Kyle Shanahan said that Talanoa Hufunga has undergone PRP, platelet-rich plasma treatment, and that he should be back and 100% and ready to go within just a few days. Didn't sound like this was something that was really threatening Talanoa Hufunga for the regular season. Finally, a couple injuries. Chris Conley and Jordan Mason were minor. Conley, a shoulder sprain, and Jordan Mason, I have that in my notes right here. There's also a smaller injury, also a day-to-day injury, a foot sprain for Jordan Mason. They're both day-to-day. So neither of those 2 injuries should impact how the 49ers build their roster. I still view Jordan Mason as a 53-man lock, and I view Chris Conley as a likely practice squatter for the 49ers. Made a nice diving catch on the deep strike from Sam Darnold yesterday. So that is your 49ers injury update. Thanks for tuning in. Like the video, sub to the channel. We will have more for you soon. Everybody take care.